Parents of ugly children, when did you first realize/concede that your kid is ugly? Do you ever feel guilty? Well, I'm very unattractive, so it made sense that my child would follow suit. When he was first born, the euphoria of having your own kin and a little version of you is pretty overwhelming to the point of not even thinking of things like that. As he grew older, it was already somewhat obvious that he wasn't a 10 in the looks department. However, that doesn't diminish my love for him in any way. I just want him to grow up happy and healthy. Not me, but my sister. Her firstborn was a gorgeous kid and turned into a handsome guy. Her second, ugliest kid any of us have ever seen. Thought he would grow out of it. 25 years later, we are still waiting. This poor guy is just downright ugly, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Plus he's a little shorter than average. I'm not going to use a throwaway for this, even though a ton of people know my username. Mostly because this is about honesty, for myself and anyone reading this. I was an ugly ass kid. Short, scrawny as hell. I had thin, greasy, mouse brown hair. I have a big nose and crooked teeth. I also developed cystic acne at the age of 9. As I got older, I learned to dress better and take care of my hair. Things that I could change, I did. I grew my hair out and learned how to wash it and care for it. Slowly as I got older, I got a lot more confident. I realized that crooked teeth and acne scars really didn't matter. I learned how to flirt. I learned how to appreciate myself, even though if we are being honest I'm maybe a 5 in straight looks. But I had a daughter, and sadly for her, she had my nose, and my skin, and my hair, and even more unfortunately, she has her father's big ears and even more crooked teeth. When I look at her in a certain way, I honestly think she's beautiful. Because unlike me, no one had ever told her she's ugly. No one ever made her feel badly about herself. Confidence isn't something she had to learn. It seems to be innate for her. She's lucky for that. But when I see her next to her pretty friends, I know she isn't on their level. She will never be the pretty friend. She'll always be the funny and outgoing one. Do I feel guilty? Sometimes I do. I wish she had gotten my ears and figure. I wish she had gotten her dad's jaw and eyes. But no one can predict what your kids will look like. And I know that she'll grow into herself, like I did. She's not horribly ugly. She's more unfortunate looking. And our son? He's almost angelic looking. Beautiful in every way. Life is sort of unfair like that. He's shy and bookish, and he could grow up to be a model. My mom says that my little brother was hideous when he was born. She and my stepdad looked at each other and said, well, isn't he beautiful? Not wanting to admit that he was the ugliest baby they ever saw. My mom says that she felt terrible for thinking he was ugly, and she was surprised that she could think that about her own kid. He's a handsome kid now, BTW. He cleared up after a few days, and he laughs out the story. Ask your mother. At the company Christmas party like 20 years ago, my dad's new Ice coworker brought his baby. My dad admired the baby and said how healthy he looked. When the coworker walked away to introduce his baby to somebody else, my dad turned to the woman next to him and said, that has to be the ugliest baby I've ever seen in my life. Turns out that was the baby's mama, and she was not happy to hear that. My dad ruined her night, and the next time he saw his coworker at work, the guy said to my dad, well, I know our son is ugly, but I was hoping my wife wouldn't notice, but now she is very aware. Thanks. My dad is an idiot who frequently puts his foot in his mouth, but he also has a really dry/dark humor, and meant it to be funny, not as insulting as it came out. My mom still brings up that story whenever she can as a lesson. To know who the fuck you're talking to before you say something stupid. I was an ugly baby. My grandmother takes great joy in telling me how she took one glance at my fat face, squinty eyes and semi-bald head covered in slime, and couldn't even bear to look at me. She then asked my mother, oh, Mrs. Slightly _ pretentious, with you and your husband's genetics, I knew that your child was not to be beautiful, but this is just taking the biscuit. Apostrophe. My grandfather then glanced at me and said, yeah, she's going to have brains. Apostrophe. It's okay now though. I don't look like that anymore. I know a family with 2 daughters. 15 over 16 years ago, Childer at 4 was a real little doll. Beautiful big green eyes, long shiny blonde hair, And her behavior? Yes mama. No mama, I'm an adorable little angel. Sure, just look at me. Child B is a year younger, huge head, not much hair, a mousy brownish shade, hazel eyes which were just a little too far apart, maybe even one a bit crooked, odd little mouth with one grey tooth in front, nose more often than not a bit gunky, and always crying, or pouting or grumpy about something. The contrast was so clear, and rude people commented on it often enough. A sure got the looks, didn't she? No doubt B got the brains, etc etc. Really upset the mom. She'd always worry that B would feel like crap and spent as much time worrying that A would be vain and shallow. Anyway, now it's 15 years later. I saw them all just a few days ago. Beautiful angelic little that doesn't get quite so many compliments now. Puberty was not kind to her skin, and those acne scars will take years to fade. Also the teeth came in all wrong, and after a traumatic experience with braces she refuses to ever try them again. Refuses to do anything that puts her out at all from what I hear. B didn't change much at all through puberty, wasn't the most popular with the boys for many years, but wow, by 16 and 17 Mother Nature seemed to more than compensate. Strikingly beautiful is how I've heard her described. Tall, long brown hair and the most arresting brown eyes. She's about 20 now, studying sustainable energy techniques. You just cannot tell how it's going to go. So, my nephew has some odd features, odd shaped head, bulging eyes, and big ears. When he was a baby, he looked, well, sickly despite being healthy. I love him, and looked past it. My sister brought him into my work one time to show him off. Being a good uncle, I grabbed the car carrier, and went from cube to cube to introduce my coworkers to my new nephew. I went into one cube, and showed him to a buddy of mine. Upon looking at my nephew, my buddy's eyes got real big, and he let out a loud oh my. It was straight out of a scene-filled episode. I could tell it was involuntary, and I could also tell my coworker immediately regretted it. My sister didn't notice, thankfully. My buddy tried to apologize later, but that was even more awkward. I just smiled and said don't worry about it. Fortunately, my nephew has grown into his looks. He is no swan, but he is one hell of a great kid. I have an ugly friend. He is quite monstrous looking really. He married a regular too good looking woman. They both married young, but never had babies. They adopted 2 kids from overseas within 3 years of getting married. I have a sneaky suspicion, but I could, for obvious reasons, never ask him if he adopted, because he didn't want to pass his ugly gene into the kids. I feel bad writing this. I grew up thinking I was the ugliest kid. My girl cousins were older, so they were so pretty. One oldest gay cousin, 18 years older than me, was really mean to me for no fucking reasons, and so he always told I was fat and ugly when no one was around, and I was really young, so I didn't know I could tell anyone about it, so I accepted it as a fact. Even now when I've turned out okay, a part of me still think I'm the fat ugly kid, and that I'm lesser than other people. So please don't ever tell young kids they are ugly. Maybe I'm dumb for still letting it get to me, but it doesn't, it sucks. I fucking hate that cousin too. According to my parents, I was the ugliest kid in the newborn baby room. I had a gigantic bulbous square head, sorry mom, and a forehead 2 times the size of my face. Apparently some people thought I had Downs when they saw me, because I was that ugly. Don't have a huge head anymore, but is still ugly. I was that ugly kid. If you look at pictures of me up until age 5, I honest to God looked like the son of Satan. I was fat and had a pug face and a mohawk. Think Mickey Rourke in diapers. Honestly, I think it is hilarious. I adore my baby pics and the devil inside them. My brother, who was a freaking cherub, has boring baby pics. And mine, meanwhile, never fail to get a laugh. Take pride, ugly babies, take pride. A number of years ago, the teacher with whom I worked informed me we would be getting a new student the next day. She wanted to warn me that the child had been burned severely so that I would be prepared when I met her. No amount of talking could have prepared me for what I saw. How I managed to squat down to her eye level so I could greet her properly with a smile on my face, I don't know. By the end of the week, she was just another child who needed a kind word and genuine smile. I was extremely proud of how the other students accepted her right away and protected her from invasive stares on the playground. This little angel became one of my favorite students with her genuine, toothy, somewhat crooked grin when she saw me in the mornings as I greeted all the buses. She blossomed into a beautiful and a little more confident child while she was with us. Not the kind of beautiful some of you are discussing, but a genuine intangible beauty that poems are written about. The morn that I was born, my old man beat up the doctor. He clocked the doctor cause the doctor said I looked like Chewbacca. The doctor said, "Sir, you're misled, sir, which infers you mistook me. I did not mean your lovely wife was shacking up with a Wookiee. What I mean is Wolverine is less hairy than your son. He looks like Chewie Bababooey and Han Kung Fooey all in one. To put it mild, your newborn child's completely nutty foo-foo looking. I'd shove him back into the oven until he is done cooking." I was the ugly kid. Just got the wrong combination of my mother's mole-prone skin, my father's jaw/teeth, my father's large officially large feet, my father's broad shoulders, and father's general hairiness and his curly hair. I lucked out in only a few departments, getting his great eyebrows, mom's decent skin and dad's dark thick hair. Most of the time I looked like my father just cloned himself. Which is unfortunately, because as handsome as he is, masculine features just don't transfer well to a female body and face. Dad's a good looking man, but not a terribly great looking lady. I know he feels guilty about the feet. Homie still pays for my expensive shoes. You can't just get 11 wide high and step off the shelf, yo. Makes my sister mad, but home Gerald escaped the curse of the ogre foot, so no dice. This is probably going to get buried because I'm always late to the party, but I was an ugly ass kid. I'm biracial, black/white, and when I was a kid I had the nappiest ugly frizzy hair you can imagine. I never bothered to use conditioner or even get a haircut. I just let it grow into a nappy jungle on the top of my head. My vision is terrible, so I wore the ugliest thickest glasses ever. I also had extremely fucked up teeth, and I didn't get braces until I was 14 or so. I grew a mustache at a very early age, like 12, and I didn't shave it for the longest time, and it looked absolutely idiotic. I was scrawny, and I dressed with an absolute and total lack of fashion sense until I got to high school. I was bullied a fuck ton in middle school. I remember the hottest girl in my middle school, named Sarah, asked me out to the 8th grade dance, and I was mortified, but of course I said yes. Then she started laughing and told me she was joking and I was ugly and she would never go to the dance with me. And she did it in front of all her friends who were also laughing hysterically. Fast forward to age 23 and I've completely turned it around. I keep my hair cut short and neat, and I stay clean shaven. I wish I could grow a beard, but it comes in patchy. I wear contact lenses. I have the straightest whitest smile you'd ever seen. I've been working out for like 3 years, and I'm buff as fuck. I dress stylish and comfortable. I'm confident as a motherfucker and I'm funny. I do stand-up comedy at the local bar on Monday nights. Also I have a big dick. I've dated plenty of hot girls and I've been told time and time again that I'm very attractive. I'm usually the most lively person at any social gathering or party and my friends all look to me to bring girls out with us and wingman them. Also, I just looked up Sarah on Facebook and she's probably a 6'5" in the looks department now. I'd consider myself to be an 8'5" or so, and she married some scrubby looking frat douche, so fuck her.